Okay, hi everyone! I just got back from an amazing trip to Ecuador and the Galapagos Islands. I wanted to share a few life lessons that I learned and how those can be applied back into my everyday life. The first thing that I quickly had to pick up on is my ability to be flexible. Going into this trip, I already thought of myself as a pretty flexible, go with the flow person, but I came to realize that that isn't always the case. I found myself becoming angry during situations that were not planned or not what I expected them to be. It kind of caught me off guard because I didn't expect myself to react in that way. For example, when we went whitewater rafting in Baños, Ecuador, which is a couple hours south of the capital, Quito. Long story short, I did not enjoy whitewater rafting. The rapids were much bigger than what I expected them to be, and it definitely caught me off guard. My first reaction was to get angry at the people who signed me up for this and told me that it wouldn't be that bad, because it was. Over the course of a few more similar experiences, I also noticed that I would follow the exact same pattern of getting angry and then immediately blaming other people. That's not a great habit to partake in, but luckily I learned how to fix my attitude and try to look at things under a more positive light, even if they seem very horrible. The next thing that I learned is how to better my communication skills. If anything, I learned just how important communication is in our everyday lives. It was obviously much harder to communicate with people I did not know in Ecuador because most of them did not speak any English. I definitely had to better my Spanish skills and work around the language barrier in many instances. I noticed that sometimes people need more than just a single sentence in order for them to understand the message you're trying to convey. Sometimes, in terms of your communication, you need to take things to a deeper level of description in order for your points to come across. You don't even need to have a language barrier in order for that to happen. Sometimes here at home, you need to describe something more than you think you need to in order for someone else to understand it. And on Immersion, I learned that that's okay. Something that seems very simple to you may not seem very simple at all to someone else. And it's about understanding one another with basic level of compassion. This is so vital to our everyday communication, and it took me to be in a foreign place in order to learn that lesson. The last thing that I learned in Ecuador was about being more centered and in the moment. I'm extremely guilty of never focusing on my current task and instead thinking about what I have to do in the future. It's my Achilles heel. No matter how hard I try, I still find it hard to exist solely in the moment, which is obviously super important in the grand scheme of things. The concept sounds pretty simple actually, but it's not, and I know I can't be the only one who feels like this. Surprisingly, I found myself having an easier time being more centered and in the moment in Ecuador, especially in the Galapagos. Whenever I would see any of the rare wildlife in the Galapagos, I found myself having tunnel vision and only focusing on the animal and my surroundings, and it really helped me to feel more grounded, especially because I know that there's a high chance that I will never get the opportunity to go back to the Galapagos in my lifetime because it's getting so hard to get to the islands. It took for me to be in a once-in-a-lifetime experience in order to only exist in the moment I was in, and not to focus on what's going to happen in 10 minutes or in 10 days, because that's not important. What's happening right now is the most important and will affect everything in the future. That was really eye-opening for me, and I really hope that some of that sticks with me. So that's what I learned on Immersion, and what I hope I'm able to apply back into the classroom. Bye!